can welcome her with...
Well, good evening everybody. And the word that comes to mind as I'm looking out over all of you now is hoo-ha! You all look absolutely amazing. I wish I'd been told. I would have brought my outfit. But I wasn't told, so I hope this is acceptable. I've been asked to talk to you tonight about, just to continue on what we spoke about, is making choices. And the choices that we all have. Life is about choices. Everything that you do in life is about a choice. It's a choice that you make. And so, what I decided to do was to tell you a story about a family that I know very well, and the journey that life has taken them on, and the choices that they've made along the way. And I hope that by the end of the story, some of you will, or all of you will have some inspiration or make new decisions about where you go and choices you're going to make. So the journey that these people went on, it was a mom and a dad and a son. And the mom and dad were working in their jobs and they weren't very happy. They didn't have very nice bosses. And one day they decided to make a choice. Do we want to work for somebody else and make them rich while we slave away? Or do we want to be the master of our own destiny? Do we want to make a choice to do something different and to take charge of our life? So they decided, at that stage, that American donut had just become very popular in South Africa. And so they decided to start a donut business. Their family thought they'd lost their marbles completely. But I'm happy to say that they had that business for 14 years. There were ups and downs, they were a little bit successful. Well, they were very successful. They had their down moments. The unfortunate part was that the dad was quite ill with a heart condition. And unfortunately, that condition just worsened and worsened as the years went by. And so they had to make another choice. Do they carry on, or do they try and see if they can get back into the job market? They decided to pursue the donut business, and it grew and went from success to success. Unfortunately, in 2003, on Boxing Day, the dad had a very, very serious heart attack and laid up in critical care ICU for 4 days, and unfortunately he didn't make it. It was a very, very sad time because the family had actually grown to such an extent that they'd had to move from working at home. They had a bakery at home, and they had moved into a factory, and they were then moving to an even bigger factory. And unfortunately, on the 30th of December, the dad passed away. And they were scheduled to move their factory on the 31st. And hey, you know what? Life goes on, and what can you do? So again, they had to make a choice. The mom and the son had to make a choice. Do we lie down and cry, or do we get up and box on? Life goes on. And again, it was a choice we had to make. They had to make. And so the next morning, they had to move their factory, and on New Year's Day, they were busy putting up shelves and installing ovens and all sorts of things. So that was a choice they made. They chose to stand up and box on. And I think, for me, that shows a tremendous amount of resilience. You have to have resilience to do that. And that's also important in your life. You've got to decide how resilient are you. Are you going to stand up? Are you going to fight on? Because we all have that strength within us, but we have to decide to tap into that strength. And so they moved their factory. And unfortunately, due to circumstances, the bank came along and said, sorry, you're going to lose your house. So 2 months later, they had to sell their house. And 2 months after that, they had to move their factory again. So for about a year, they had a very, very difficult time. But every single time something like that happened, they decided to stand up and box on. They made choices in their lives. They weren't easy choices. They were difficult choices. But the fact is, they didn't lie down and die. They had a victor's mentality rather than a victim's mentality. Because life will throw you curveballs. It always will. But it's how you decide to respond to those curveballs and what you do with that decides on where your path is going to go. And eventually they decided they did keep the business kept going, and eventually they sold the business. And the son and the mom went on their own separate paths. Now, I happen to know the story very, very well because it's my story. And I'm telling you this story simply because I think for me the journey has been, people have said to me, how did you do this? How did you get through all of that? And for me it was a choice. I chose that I wasn't going to be a victim, that I was going to take what I'd learned and turn it into something positive. I had a saying, Tony spoke about Neil Donald Walsh earlier today, and he actually gave me some CDs and I was listening to them, and at 4 o'clock one morning I heard this phrase, and I'd listened to the CDs a few times, and I'm going to say it slowly because you've got to really think about what I'm saying, but it turned my life around in a second. And the saying was this: in the absence of is not, is not. And to put that simply, it's basically saying, if you don't have the bad stuff in your life, if you don't have the is-nots, how do you know when the is's come along? How do you know when the good stuff? You've got nothing to measure it against. And so for me, I just looked back over the time that I'd had, and it completely reframed what had happened to me. It didn't seem so bad after all, because I knew that was the is-not, or one of the is-nots in my life. And I was so excited. I remember phoning Tony and saying, I've had such a breakthrough, I understand now, but it is absolutely a reframe. Because it took everything that I'd been through in my life and just reframed it for me in a second. It's like taking a picture frame and putting the picture in a new frame. And so would I go back? People say to me, wouldn't you like to go back and change what happened to you? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change a second of it. Because yes, it was a little difficult. And yes, it was sore, and it was painful, and it was very sad, and it was something that I wouldn't really wish on anybody. But would I go back and change it? No, and I'll tell you why. It's because all those experiences have made me the person I am today. It gave me the strength to know. I can stand here honestly tonight and say to you all that short of death, nothing will get the better of me. Because I feel personally, and I'm quite sure that many other people have been through worse than what I went through. But for me, I know that nothing will stop me. I will get up and box on because I have that strength. But it's a choice you have to make. And I said it earlier, but I really believe that we all have a tremendous amount of strength within ourselves. We just have to choose to tap into that. And so I think also from a resilience point of view, that is also a big, big choice that you make in your life. Because it's a victor or a victim mentality. You have to decide. Are you going to lie down? Are you going to just accept things as they are? Or are you going to decide to make a difference or do something different? There's a saying that says, you can't keep doing the same things and expect a different result. It's not going to happen. So you have to do something different to get a different result. What did I do? I decided to pack my car and move to Johannesburg. And once again, people thought I'd lost my mind, probably the third or fourth time in my life. It was the best thing I ever did. It was a brave thing. I left my son in Cape Town. I left all my friends in Cape Town. I moved to Johannesburg. I was born, bred, went to school, got married, lived in the same suburb in Cape Town. My whole life I was in one place. I never moved. But I decided to take the step. And that's your first thing, is people say to you, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you make a success of your life? One step at a time. Don't try and take the big steps. You only need to make one small decision, just one feeling better, one step better, one decision better. And slowly but surely you will see your life start to turn around. And so, I hope that having spoken to you, that you will make the choices that you need to make. Think about everything that you do. Think about things that are happening in your life. Be there at work, be there at home, with your children, no matter what. What are the choices that you are making? Are they empowering? Are they uplifting? Are they exciting? Are they adventurous? Or are they dark and heavy, and are they not taking you anywhere? Do they make you feel sad? You know, there's the story, I don't know if you know the story of the medicine man and the Indian. which I'll tell you. There was the Indians in America, with the headdresses and all that, they are warriors. And there was this young warrior, and he went to the medicine man one day. He was very, very disturbed, and he said to him, "Please, sir, you have to tell me. I've got a huge problem, and I have to know the answer." So the medicine man said, "Well, my son, what is the problem?" And he said, "You know what, I have a wolf that sits on this shoulder with little horns, and he's always bringing me down and putting words of doubt into my mind. And on my other shoulder, I have a wolf with a halo. And it's a kind, loving, empowering, positive wolf. But they fight constantly, all day, every day, and every decision that I make, they fight. And I have to know which one is going to win." And the medicine man looked at him and smiled, and he said, "My son, the one that you feed the most." And that's one of your biggest choices. Which wolf are you going to feed? Because whichever one you choose to feed is the one that's going to win. So I'm hoping that after today's session, that you will feed the wolf with the halo. Feed the wolf that gives you a positive feeling, that will take you to new heights and new opportunities and new experiences. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. And I just want to leave you with one last line, also to do with the lemons. Patrick gave me an idea as I was sitting there. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Thank you.